morning. Welcome to the Misk Pavilion. My name is Al-Beity. I'm an initiatives manager with the Misk Global Forum. We're here today at the Misk Pavilion here in Davos to bring the voice of young people and say why young people matter. At the Misk Foundation, we're committed to discovering, developing, and empowering young people to meet the challenges of change. And a big part of that change is the fact that many jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10, 11 years. And the key to creating new jobs is through entrepreneurship. Creating new businesses, creating new innovative ideas. And a big part of that is something that we're very passionate about. And so at the end of last year, we launched the Entrepreneurship World Cup. And today we have amazing speakers here to talk just about that and the role that young people can play in creating the new jobs of the future. I will pass on the mic to Henry, our moderator.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Excellent. Fantastic. Guys, good morning and welcome to another great event here at the Misk, what I call the Davos extravaganza that we all have today. And, I always say every year at Davos, the most difficult thing is getting people out for the first morning event. So very impressed to have all of you here. My name is Henry Sulayem, and really my passion and my focus in life is the future of the financial services industry and the future of the workforce that we need. So very relevant panel today, and I'm just very lucky. I do this at PwC, where I'm their fintech and crypto leader, and I do this at the Hong Kong University, where I teach fintech entrepreneurship for a number of years. Today, we're going to talk about really what we need to do, the different items of it. Just to give you some background. The job market, as we know, is changing. Many people are not able to find jobs. Today, there's more than 200 million people around the world who are actually unemployed. But also, a lot of people are changing how they're approaching things. For example, many are embracing entrepreneurship and freelancing. For example, almost 50% of millennials in the US right now are doing some kind of freelancing already. So the question is really, are we giving them the right skill set? Considering that 65% of kids are right now entering kindergartens will have jobs that don't exist today. Are we giving them the right frameworks that they need? Considering that, again, the majority of young people are happy to start their own business, but they feel that they don't have the right infrastructure and support to do so. So what should we do? What can we do? I'm not sure we'll have all the answers today or we'll solve all the world's problems, but I promise you it'll be insightful, it'll be interesting, and most importantly, it'll be exciting. And to do this, we have our dream team panel that I'll introduce to you for a second to start, and they're going to share their views with us today. On my left, His Excellency Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, who's the chairman and CEO of DP World in the UAE. One thing about him, about His Excellency, that you may not know, he used to be a very avid horse racer. Again, so if you want any questions on that, he's the man for that. Great to have you with us, Your Excellency. Next is Anne Rosenberg. Anne is the global head of SAP Next Gen for SAP based in the US. One thing about her that you may not know, she has a big passion for sci-fi. And she even just published this book here, and I think she'll talk about it later on, about science fiction. So very exciting. Great to have you with us, Anne, today. Next is Varun Venugopal Gupta, who's the Director of Sustainable Growth at Mindful Life and Mindful Work based in India. Great to have you with us. One thing about actually Varun that people don't know, he does improv theater. What? And his favorite mode of transportation, and brace for this, is hitchhiking. He's traveled around the world actually hitchhiking. I mean, he still takes the flights, but on premises, he had a lot of great stories. Great way to travel. Varun, great to have you with us today.
It's improv travel.
Exactly, here we go.
No, you can hitch flights here in Davos.
No, well,
Yeah, start on the runway. Please stop.
Many people coming by.
that's probably the most effective way of getting here as well, ironically. Great to have you with us, Varun. And last but not least, Professor Tony Chant. Tony is the president of KAUST in Saudi Arabia. One thing about him that you may not know, he's a big tennis player.
Fan, not player.
Well, yeah. And he's actually done the Grand Slam. He's been to all of them to actually watch them. I hope one day to play them as well, but a different story.
Too old now.
Excellent. So guys, let's start on. So very excited Dream Team panel today. We'll kick it off here actually with you, Tony, actually, now that we're here. As you know, you've been in universities for a long time, both in Hong Kong and now in Saudi Arabia. Do you believe we're training the new generation properly and we're giving them the skills that they need to succeed in this new paradigm?
I think beyond skill is
You can take the microphone, yeah.
Sorry.
I know you have a big voice, but...
Okay, sorry. Actually, I've worked in the U.S. too. So U.S., Asia, Hong Kong, and now in the Middle East. And my observation is it's not so much about skill. I mean, of course, you can teach, entrepreneurship, but it's more about the mindset. Young people have to overcome a lot of hurdles before they go in. Hong Kong is a good example. In Asia, the culture, the mindset is go into a very stable profession. The typical thing is become a lawyer and a doctor. Entrepreneurship is risky. Your high school teacher, your parents, and so on say, "Are you sure?" And depends on whether the concept of risk-taking is accepted and encouraged. So I would say, speaking as someone from university, all we can do is to expose the student, to inspire them, introduce them to successful and probably unsuccessful entrepreneurs, and tell them what the possibilities are. And then we provide the environment for them. I can tell you a little bit more about KAUST later on if you want, and the HAUST. But the university job is we provide the human capital. While we have them for a few years, we try to give them the inspiration and an environment, and then they go out and conquer the world. That's really
We'll talk back about that, whether university are doing a job or the model is actually screwed. Let me come back to you, Anna, to move it on. I mean, from your perspective, from an SAP and your personal perspective, do you believe what Tony was saying? Are we giving the right people the right skill set? You can take the mic from Varun.
I want to go. I want us all to understand a couple of things about what is the right mindset or what is the right skill set. So, and I'm like looking at the science fiction book that I actually just published at Davos. So, if we look at what is going on right now, so science fiction is going. You might not even. Let me just ask the audience out here. How many of you are into science fiction? Put up a hand. Okay. How many of you go into a boardroom or just into a meeting and say, I saw Blade Runner yesterday and in our new strategy we're going to do this and this. How many of you doing that? How many put science fiction into your work? Right? One, yeah? Wow. Exactly, okay. Trust me, 2019 is going to be a year where science fiction is going to be the new management philosophy to build new strategies. Yes, the gentleman said yes because he's already doing it. So why is that? And then I'll come back to why that's important for the next generation to use. So if you go around, I call it the magic 8 years back, Silicon Valley, the gravity of knowledge is what I call Innovation 1.0, where you begin to really have an open innovation community, which also attract entrepreneurs of the world, youth. I had the pleasure to live in Palo Alto for a couple of years and really explore how the youth of the world go to Silicon Valley, the entrepreneurs go to Silicon Valley. But then people begin to say, well, one second, why are the only innovation gravity happening in Silicon Valley? It is actually happening all over the world. And this is where we have been seeing pop-ups of innovation communities anywhere in the world where we are today. And this is what we call Innovation 2.0. And this is where it become really interesting. This is what I like about when you talk about the mindset, because learning about technologies like what SAP represent and immersed technologies, this is a skill set. But have the right mindset to use that for something is really, you can learn that, but that is actually a decision you need to make in your mind. And this is actually where we came up with, the world came up with what you call Innovation 3.0. So when you think about it, you have all these amazing immersed technologies over here, but what is the value of immersed technology if you're not applying in the right way? This is where the 17 global goals, innovation with purpose, get into play. So you can say, but it's a mindset, because technology is what you make it. If you take a supply chain, you can look at it from an efficiencies and optimization perspective, but you can also say, one second, I actually want to make sure that the output have a right purpose output. That's a mindset, that's a decision you take. But the issue, and that's where I go to sci-fi, so what is happening now is that we have everything we want in the world around technologies. Immersed technology is amazing, you can do unbelievable things with it, and we know we need to solve the 17 global goals, and we need to reach them by 2030. What we're lacking right now is something we all have inside us, and the gentlemen over here are already having in full motion. That is, it is our imagination. This is the sci-fi. And this is something that you use, you younger you are, you better it is, because young people, children, they have that in them, and they're not shy to bring that to action in kindergarten, in schools, at universities, but as soon as you hit the corporate world, you begin to be very, correct, and I can do this, you can't do that. So I think the science fiction for me is Innovation 4.0. This is where you use sci-fi to really activate your imagination, to really use what you can apply as the immersed technology of today. So I see right now a reverse learning model where I need the mind of the young people, we all know the young people is the SDG generation. We all know that the young people have the sci-fi in them, and that is what I want them to bring into the workforce in a very big way, both as entrepreneurs and as any person in the corporate world.
So it's like, forget design thinking, now it's all about sci-fi 3.0. So we'll come back to that,
Yes.
because it's going to be interesting about how we're teaching that. And I'll bring it to you, actually, Your Excellency, because
Sorry.
are we...
Sultan.
No, but Sultan, do you believe the people joining, for example, your organization, do you believe they lack some of the skills? I mean, having some sci-fi skills would be relevant in the way. What are the skills you think they're lacking when they're joining your organization?
Let me tell you, I like what he said, it's the mind.
Yeah.
This is the most important thing. People have to have the right mindsets. When we employ people, you see, skill, you can always get it. You know, look at, for example, Steve Jobs. How did he come with this amazing idea? He decided, and he learned the skill he wanted, the calligraphy. Look at, you know, Bill Gates. All these people are entrepreneurs. Started, nobody believed they would do it. So it is an attitude, it is a mindset, and if people, they want something, they'll get the skill. To do trainings, today we don't do in our organization any training. Abdullah is one of 20 people we have, where we have looked at their, I sat with them, and we spoke to many, and they are not under trainee, they're working with certain people. I want people to dream with their mind. I like what you said about sci-fi. Look at Hyperloop, it's sci-fi.
Yeah.
To go in a speed of air on the ground. And we believe in the technology, and we invested. We are the largest shareholder of the company, but it comes to the matter of the mind. If someone has the best education, if they don't have the mindset, they cannot. You need to teach people to learn that they can do it. In any, I tell you, young are amazing with their energy. And when I face any issue, I always want to lecture to them about my experience. And one thing for me, for example, I never ever ask why. We meet regarding an issue. I never ask why. I think it's a waste of time. I never ask who caused it. I am a solution-oriented person, so I want people to think of how to solve it. I don't care who caused it, when it's going to be, who did it, and why. These are irrelevant. So basically, in my management style, I'm selfish. Selfish in my energy, and I tell people to be selfish, because your energy, you should only use your energy in something that's going to give you a return. For example, anger is energy.
Yeah.
Sadness energy, you know, pointing finger at people energy, blaming people energy. These are energies I don't use. Use your energy to fix a problem. Use energy I need to teach people that you can do it. And believe me, I have never came across anything I couldn't conquer. Not only that, now the challenge for me with my people is, if we have a problem, I don't want to solve the problem. I want to come out better. So how do I find an opportunity? Because we have a problem. But it is always, for me, teaching the mind. Never have anybody worried. I never blamed on any problem or mistake in the company. And I tell people, they are like Abdullah, that if to succeed, you need to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Nobody ever made money without losing money. I'm telling you, no, in real estate and anything, nobody ever been able to do something without failing. Failing is part of reaching a goal. And once people's mind is clear, then every skill they will get. They know what they want. They're not going to waste their time. I have, you will laugh, one thing I didn't tell you, which I don't want to say it is, actually I care about my time. I am selfish with my time. And so I had I mean, this is funny. I have a death clock for myself. So
Yeah.
I see, you know, I tell my doctor, everything is fine with me. What do you think I live if I don't fall with the horse again or I have an accident? He said, well, the way you are, you could be 90. So I did actually a death clock whereby I'm counting down. So I'm 63 now. I have 26, 27.
Wow.
So when I meet my people, my CFO, he said, what's this? I said, this is how much life you're going to take from me. Honestly. No, seriously. I count my time. Waste. People waste your time. One thing in life today that we cannot buy. You can buy anything in life. Time you can buy. Once it's gone, it's gone. And so we don't waste our time. I need to teach people in the organization how to fix a problem. I don't care what happened, who caused it, is irrelevant. Yes, I am selfish. If I'm going to blame, it's going to fix it, I'll blame. I'll get 6 people to blame. So this is attitude and I practice it. In the Arab culture, one problem when somebody visits you in your office and he doesn't get out, you can't really tell him leave. So what I do, I know there are people who waste my time. I don't meet them in my office. I will organize a meeting in someone's office. After I finish, I will leave. And he can stay forever. But I tell you, I sit with people and every time someone wants to say, oh, I have a problem, I say, I don't want to hear it. We sorry to be long, but we invented an idea a year and a half ago, which is an amazing technology that we got it because of a problem we had. And it is ready to be deployed. So we're going to do the pilot project. And the guy, one of our employees, Adnan, who is in charge of this, I have a meeting on Sunday, and he came looking sad. And I didn't know why. And then he said, he made a mistake. I said, why? He said, well, unfortunately, whenever we want to build something, we send it to the people who manufacture for us. But because this is confidential, we're going to build it in-house. By mistake, it went to a competitor.
Wow.
So now, what should I do? He said, well, we have a confidentiality agreement. They have to give us back all the information by agreement. They signed an NDA. But my mind is wired. I'm a solution-oriented. I said, listen, I really don't care. I don't think, to be honest with you, I'll trust them. They'll tell you they give you information, but they will keep it. So what should I do? I said, if I were you, I'll send them a new revision for the project. Whatever we felt wouldn't work, add it to this and send them, this is a new project. It is bigger, it is better, and let them waste their time. Why should I blame? And it was okay, because they're going to be in circle. How do I get my information? Forget about the problem, fix the problem.
These are great tips.
And I installed that in the people who work.
So you have great tips here on how to actually make sure you avoid the long meeting. I may actually do that. And the dead cloud, that's actually a very good tip. If you learn one thing at Davos this year, this is it. So, but actually I'll bring it to you, Varun, because it actually relates to one in your mind when you're talking about it. Because Varun actually, for those who may know what he does in his living, and I may be completely mischaracterizing, but he helps people slow down. So it's very interesting how that actually, from what we just heard, about actually the value of time. Can you tell us how you're using that and how that could be helpful to entrepreneurs and as a skill set that may be lacking with people?
Sure. He actually nailed it on its head. These are pretty much the 2 challenges I see most people struggling with when it comes to slowing down. Because one is, when you talk about problem solving, many people don't actually know what problem they're solving. Especially today with this whole buzz around the new technologies which are coming, the entrepreneurial scene in India, everyone wants to be the new latest technology. And that's why there are so many entrepreneurs but such few companies. Everyone is an entrepreneur, everyone is a startup. And I often say, what is the problem you're solving? Because technology is just a delivery mechanism, but ultimately there has to be content that you're delivering. And that stems also from the fact that, do people really know what the problem is? How much time have you spent with the problem? For example, you're talking about Hyperloop. I would say, how much time is someone spent in actually understanding, was that something which is required? Be on the floor, spend a year. In any community, there are so many problems which are there. Look at what is a key problem that is solving, key problem that is faced by people. For example, if you're at a community, use the washrooms with them. And you'll realize, oh my God, there are such basic problems. And that's where the opportunities lie. So I think the first thing is, do entrepreneurs know what problem they're solving? And many a time when you don't have that, then you are inventing problems, on the fly and trying to solve them, which are not really material. The second is the time wasters. There's so many tasks. There's so many tasks people do day in and day out, and just mindlessly. Like, for example, I was working with one of the organizations, and they're an e-commerce platform. And whenever somebody would order something, depending on which geography that it has to be delivered, they had to enter how much the courier fee is. Now, they were doing this one country by one country manually entering this data. And you know what, I asked them, what if tomorrow the rates change? And they were like, oh, we do this again.
Very, very exciting job there.
And I was like, okay, you know what's, like you said, can you spend this time rather problem solving and seeing what integration you can do to be able to solve this such that next time it doesn't happen. And I see this, like, at least for myself, so much time was being spent in menial tasks like scheduling a call. You know, and I'll keep doing emails back and forth, what's your time zone, what's my time zone, and a simple tool today is available which can just solve it. So, you know, just knowing, I think he did it really well where he had a countdown. I did it where I said I will not work more than 3 days in a week. You know, so yeah, set up an imperative, and when you have an imperative, that's the time. Like for example, many people have started doing that. 5 o'clock we are out of office no matter what. Set up an imperative, you will automatically problem solve and avoid many of these idiotic tasks.
And I don't know, 3 days a week, leaving at 5, you know, what is, I don't know how you guys will get back to that. I don't know how you're able to do that, but we'll come back to that in a second.
Yeah.
But actually on this skill set, Tony, I'll move it back to you. I mean, you know, I've been teaching universities for more than a decade, you know, and you have way more than I did. I personally believe the model is completely broken, right? I mean, for example, we just issued a MOOC on an online course, and we just hit 35,000 registrations for my fintech course. There's no way I can teach that with a class of 80 people. And many believe in even the academic world, the model, how professors are promoted, the tenure model, that professors are promoted on because of publications, not because of their teaching skills. Do you believe the academic model we have today is correct, or we should completely transform it?
See, I have a vested interest, of course, in this. But there are two ways to look at this. You know, university is a very old institution. You know, Oxford and so on, 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
So more recently, this use of technology to disrupt and revolutionize education is not new. You know, MOOCs is just the latest thing. And you haven't heard so much about MOOCs now kicking, you know, the Harvards and Stanford and Oxford, Cambridge, right, this model out. So it turns out that people go to university for many different purposes. And I think if you look at, they go there to be inspired. They go there to meet new friends. They go there to get a credential, frankly. You know, we were talking, you know, I went to Stanford. I don't remember what I learned. I remember the people I met. And they were the one working in Silicon Valley and so on. And I get inspired by them.
Yeah.
I can call them up and they'll answer my call.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, I learned some technology and, you know, knowledge, but the technology from that time is no longer. For example, I learned AI. AI back then is very different from AI today. So coming back to the entrepreneurship thing in terms of skill set, or really a mindset, what I tell students is this: nobody can predict the future, right? So when I joined the computer science department, it was new. I tell them none of my professors had a degree in computer science. So how did they decide to get in? Because they were the pioneer, they believe in themselves. They took a risk. They think this thing is for real. I can tell you many places where they think computer science is a fad. You know, all this computer stuff. So I think the mindset for entrepreneurs is that you gotta be prepared. You gotta know about the world. When the opportunity comes, you have to make a decision. Is this the right thing? Okay. If it is, do you have the confidence? You'll meet things that you never learn. You never know, but you'll continue to learn. So you gotta have the confidence and say, okay, I want to build machine learning. I have no idea what it is, but I have learned fundamental physics.
Yeah.
And that's much, much more difficult. If I can handle that, I can handle this. That's why you go to university. It's to learn, not to learn C++, okay?
But based on that, I mean, actually, I'll bring it back to you, Anne. I mean, do you believe it's the job of a corporate? For example, we just released a survey where a lot of CEOs believe, with the lack of the workforce right now, it's a corporate's job to train its staff, right? Do you believe that's one of the obligations we have as a corporate, is to train people, and also for intrapreneurship, a part of intrapreneurship inside the organization?
You know, I think it is the job of everybody, whatever you are a corporation or whatever you're government institutions or whatever you're a startup or whatever you're citizens, to learn youth and also all ages about new things. I think this is an obligation we all have. Yesterday we actually announced the citizen agenda because we are right now focusing on, and I invite all of you to be part of this, to mobilize citizens of the world to come up with ideas of how to reach the 17 global goals. So I think as a corporations, I think it is our responsibility, like anybody else, to go in and provide education. So at SAP, I have a network of 3,700 universities in 117 countries. We have been setting up 140 innovation spaces at our campuses. We are setting up equality lounges at university campuses, rolling out a lot of skills training around SAP's technology platform and science fiction thinking and also design thinking and so on. So we all have an obligation to do this. But I think what is very essential about learning, and you touched it very nicely, is that it's a lifelong learning. And I just want to say, what you learn at the university is that you need to be ongoing hungry for learning even more. You learn how to learn. And I think that is essential that you do. And I think whenever we talk about entrepreneurship, inside and outside, because today companies, and that's why I'm globally responsible for setting up a big innovation community between SAP's customers, government, startup accelerators, and a team of something called Startup Guide, where we go into cities and we map out accelerators, universities, the startup communities and corporations, and really build out how you can collaborate together. I think that there is a joint responsibility in it. But I also want to say one thing, because I like what you said, that everybody is becoming entrepreneur. I don't, and I also think we need to be a little bit careful about this, because you have to kind of, if you look at the people up here, it's kind of 7:30 in the morning. We sound like we're kind of go-getting people, like woo up there, right? We can't ask everybody to be like this. So what I believe more in today is about that your passion in life. This is what will drive you. Passion drive you. Whatever you are, an entrepreneur or you are a go-getter, what you do need to be what fulfill you and what drive you. And then you might be that you're not a risk taker. You're not feel that you. But then you team up with people who are, and you create stuff together. Yeah. So that is also important, because I don't think we can require that everybody's entrepreneurs, but it's about following your passion, because your passion will take you anywhere in the world you want.
So I just want to bring it back to you. I mean, do you believe, based on what Anne was saying, that do you believe first as a DP role, right? Do you believe you have a duty to train the next generation of the people coming in? But also second, what do you believe is the role of government? Should government actually have a role in training, whether the corporates or the academic world cannot do it? I know Tony is not going to agree on the academic world may not be doing properly today.
Let me tell you, the biggest wealth, the biggest resource that's unlimited is what's in the mind of people. This is something that has to be encouraged in any country. In the culture we have in the government and also in the company I'm working for, we encourage people to make mistakes. Because when people make mistakes, they don't worry about bringing new idea. You need to encourage people to come up with new ideas. Necessity is the mother of invention. Yep. Always. People will go if they need it. People, when they are put in a corner, they come up with amazing ideas. So how do you encourage the mind of people? How do you encourage the mind of people to think? And knowing that part of this success is failure. You know, when we started DP World, and the first one was taking over ports in Hong Kong, everybody told us, you cannot compete in Hong Kong, the Asian giant, tigers, whatever, you know. But we believe once you are convinced inside, I don't care what education a person has, it's a conviction side, I can do it. Yeah. And this is what we need to encourage people with, the mind. Government can lay up policies, government can do whatever, but if people don't need it, that's not the case. You know, in many of the jobs I do, for example, customs is where I started. And one of the time they were doing a study about costs, and I'm trying to reduce costs. And they found out that we spent, I guess, 4,000 hours in collecting fees for violation, little violation. So this is not an original document. The customer will tell you, I take a copy from you. 2 weeks I give him. If he doesn't give it in 2 weeks, they charge him 50 dirham. It takes 4,000 hours. The cost of employees is 4 million dirhams. So what is the collection of these fees? 50,000. So I said, remove it. Exempt these people from this final. Okay, funny thing is from our the legal department of the government, they said, oh, give me justification. I said, no, I'm not even going to waste my time to give you justification. You know what? Spend the 4 million. I don't care. And I really ignored it. And because I don't waste my time. They came to me later and they said, yes, great idea, we're going to do it. You know, time is important. Time is the most commodity that you cannot buy. How do I encourage people to think, to come up with a new idea, to be solution-oriented?
Yeah.
For me, this is the key. I don't care what policies government put, programs put. If people don't need to use, they won't use. You can lay everything, but you have to fix the mind. You have to make people believe, I can do it. I can go there.
Yeah.
I can make it happen. I think this is key. This is key. When we employ people, I don't care really about his education, to be honest with you. I care about his mindset.
Yeah.
Is he a person who's solution-oriented or not?
Yeah.
Because the solution-oriented person will always come up with an idea. Other people who will, I had an engineer who had the best degrees in mechanical, electrical, engineering, local. I was proud. He was useless. Useless. He can't fix the problem. And I have to finally, after some time, I didn't waste my time.
Yeah.
I brought him and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't think it's going to work.
Interesting point. That's why I think a lot of corporates now actually don't want to see your university transcripts. Actually, they allow you to hire without even the university degrees just to avoid those problems. I'll jump over to you, Varun. I mean, from your perspective, you work with a lot of companies and a lot of entrepreneurs as well. What models have been working? Like, what have you seen? Like, is it we should promote science fiction thinking? Is it academic? Is it mindset? Is it skill sets? What have you seen that is working with the different corporations and organizations that you've seen? I'll let you take the mic.
I think the first thing is any entrepreneur whom I've seen who has his first or her first tendency to go to the customer, I've generally seen them being more successful. Today, one of the trend I'm seeing is a lot of entrepreneurs want to first seek venture capital before they really work on their project and scale it up. There's a problem because then your customer becomes your venture capital fund, and the orientation then becomes about fancier PPTs because the market is your fund. Rather than that, if they were to go to 100 customers and sell them whatever solution you're building for $5. Don't give it for free. Charge some money, because when you charge some money, there is some accountability. They are expecting something of you. If you give it a software for free, person uses for a day, realizes it's not for me, leaves it. But you charge some money for it, if they're not happy, they'll come back to you and say, hey, this is not working, fix this. And anyone whom I've seen who's gone into the customers first, I've seen there's much more reality which is built in. There's much more resilience because they know what features the customer is using, what features were pointless, they can drop. And I think that's been one important thing. And that's why when you talk about entrepreneurship and what's working, I think in India, the informal sector, which is just your daily, on the street food vendors, they're doing so much better, I think, as entrepreneurs, because even if you look at the way the food cart is laid out, it's just very optimum. Like many times I think I should just go and intern with one of them. The way their hands work like a clockwork, they just constantly, if the sauce is done, they know the sauce will cut and, it'll refill, the plates are clean. Versus this level of efficiency is not in any of these incubators that I've seen. They're talking about things, they're like, where is our, we've got this venture capital for $1 million, but what happens when this venture capital dies out? Where is our next money going to come? And I think, is this just the game that you'll continue playing? When are you actually going to do business? So that's been one. And just last point, I think it stems from the education, what both of you brought in. Because our education today is teaching us these technologies, but I don't think it's teaching us to see. For example, even the setup, it's mostly classroom setup. There is very little seeing the outside world. Go and see the plants, learn biology from there. Physics, actually, when you're sliding, can you learn, oh, this is gravity, and the reason I'm not dropping and going down is because there's friction. You're talking about physics. But very rarely have I seen concepts being introduced like this, which stick more because those are connections and felt sense that you've learned rather than.
But there's also, I'll open it up on this, as we closing the panel, and we'll take questions afterwards. But I mean, there's, many would argue, to be the devil's advocate, entrepreneurship is a rich person's opportunity. I mean, just to give you some data, we'll talk about this in my next book. 57% of Americans don't have $400 in their account. This paycheck to paycheck, you don't have the luxury to become an entrepreneur if you have 2 kids and you have to pay the mortgage, right? It becomes and also if you don't have access to capital, unless you have the good friends in Silicon Valley or daddy or mommy have money, or actually you're lucky that you have the contacts. Your young person in Bangalore cannot just go and start a startup and raise a couple $1 million. So what do you think as a policy perspective, many of us, right? I mean, and at Davos is a place we can do these things. I mean, what do you think is missing to close this gap? Because it's very exciting, people see this entrepreneurs, but what do you think is, how can we address this? Is it entrepreneurship a rich person's opportunity, or there's actually more democratic than that, actually?
So the view I have on this is that, and this is something that we work a lot with. So I mentioned Startup Guide before, where we are mapping out innovation communities. We have 25 books out now with Startup Guide. We have 40 by end of next year, where we're going in Johannesburg, Cape Town, LA, any city in the world, and we are mapping out the innovation communities. And at the same time, I work with a team, Christine and Nitin, who are really going out. You go to Ghana, you go to Haiti, you go to places around the world where you are building virtual accelerators. And I don't think this has anything, I don't think it's anything to do with a rich man club, because we need to go back to the basic here. What are we trying to achieve here? We have all the technology we even dreamed about in the world. It's just going to accelerate. The limit we have right now, to what have already been mentioned many times up here, is our mindset and understanding about what we can use it for. So we need any great person in the world, whatever you're a startup, an entrepreneur, a citizen, company, government, to go into public-private partnerships and really accelerate those ideas, and again link to the 17 global goals. I think this whole thing, and that's why I talk about Innovation 4.0. Yes, Silicon Valley, we know all about this, we understand Innovation 2.0, innovation communities around the world, but I think people are, it's not the la-la land anymore in that perspective. We are right now where we're trying to solve, and this is what Davos is talking about in a beautiful way, we're trying to solve some really, really big problems, right? And so the thing, and that's why Monday evening over the Davos house, we opened a house where I had an event about purpose investment, because purpose investment, and this is what we see more and more and more, when you work with investment, you care about that you do change behavior, that you invest into big changes that support related to the 17 global goals. So I think what you're referring to, I think for me that's the past.
Yeah.
Because again, what is money? I mean, money itself cannot go in and drive a big impact and make a better climate situation if you don't have minds around the world who go in and work and solve it. So I will go against what you're saying there and say, I think that's the past.
Excellent.
Because it's much bigger what we need to change in the world. We need to make sure we give more back that we take when we leave this world. Back to you. Time is the most precious we have. It's not money, right? And that's back to the mindset. And I think a lot of people say Davos 2019 is a year where that was discussed heavily, that mindset.
That's awesome. The meaningful. Hopefully that's again one of the takeaways we'll have from this year. Before I open up to questions, we're going to do a quick fireside round. So just to give you a bit of background, these are obviously questions the panelists have no idea. The answer should be 1 or 2 words. And I have my best friend, the Bell, who travels with me around the world. So basically, I'll ping you guys in, and we'll switch quickly to questions. So 1 or 2 word answers, 1 or 2 seconds, and I'll start with the questions. I'll start with you, Tony, and then we'll come down and we'll move on back up.
Cool.
First question, knowing what you know about the future of work, and let's say you could go back to university today, what is the one course you wish you had taken?
Entrepreneurship.
Here we go, entrepreneurship. Varun.
Growing food.
Growing food. I don't know, universities don't give that course?
Should.
Think Anne.
Science fiction.
Yeah, that's fiction. Here you go. Sultan.
IT.
IT. Here we go.
I
Okay.
did start, but I didn't take much of it.
Okay, next question. If there's one book about the future of entrepreneurship, innovation, or there's any one document you think people should read about entrepreneurship, what would that be? We'll start from here. One book you recommend people to read about entrepreneurship. We'll come back.
Come back to you.
Anne.
Science fiction, innovation, 4.0. Woo!
No self-promotion there.
Oh no.
Varun.
There's a book I just came across called Rework. I'm loving reading it. A very simple one-page solution.
Who wrote that? Rework? For people who want to know?
I don't know. It's by the 13 Signal guys.
Okay. Rework.
Okay,
Hey,
Rework.
Tony.
I don't know about book, but autobiographies of successful entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs and
Yeah.
Excellent. Welcome back. What? Do you have it now?
Yes, Elia Icoca.
Okay, interesting.
When he pulled Chrysler, it was an amazing thing I learned actually.
Excellent. Tony, we'll start with you. You had the chance today to start a new startup, and you have the chance of you have the choice of one co-founder. The choices are Elon Musk, Jack Ma, Mark Zuckerberg, or Kim Kardashian. Which one you take?
I don't know who keep I'm too old for that. Jack Ma. Mohamed met.
Why is that?
Jack Ma.
But why? Why?
Well, he has time now. You know, he's stepping down.
Varun.
Actually, my choice is the same. I'm a big fan. Also, I love his authenticity. I think that's going to be a key thing for me to look at my co-founder.
Excellent.
Mark Zuckerberg, because I love his community and his purpose thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk what?
I had a meeting with him and I'm a great admirer of his vision. He's not an engineer. He's an entrepreneur when he got involved with PayPal.
Yeah.
But he is the first one who managed, with an idea, to put a rocket to supply space and bring it back. And this is amazing.
Absolutely. One more question. I will start with you, Sultan. If tomorrow morning I give you $10 million and I tell you you can start the startup of your choice, any startup, in what sector would you do it?
Transportation.
Transportation. Here we go. Man of your word.
Healthcare.
Healthcare. Why is that? Why healthcare?
Going back to you, time is the most precious things.
Education.
Education. Why is that?
I think this sector needs the biggest innovation, needs a complete overhaul.
Yeah. There we go. Absolutely. And Tony, to finish it off.
I agree with him. And I have some expertise. Okay.
Guys, thank you very much. Big hand of applause for our panel. Do we have time for one or two questions from the audience? Excellent. So we'll open up for questions. Here we go. Here, we'll take it from here. And I'll give you the microphone so you can...
Thank you. Thanks for the great talk. How would you identify a great idea, a very bold idea, in the way that Elon Musk, for example, would come up with ideas? So what's the process of finding a very bold idea?
Excellent. What is the process of finding bold idea? Great question.
Okay, so it really goes back to the science fiction mindset. So this is what I would suggest. You go on a time travel, you're a time traveler, and you go to 2030 or 2050. Because when you do a time traveling, you let go. You kind of like clean up your mind and you just let go. And then back to what you said before about when you go to school, you should just, you sit there and you just listen, but are you really thinking about what you're listening to? So you should be time travel 2030, 2050. Then you should begin to start, when you read stuff, instead of reading, you should be thinking about what you're reading. When you are seeing stuff, you should think about what you see and let it get into you. And then you should come up with your idea when you're 2030, 2030 or 50. Write it down, read it up for a lot of people, and that would give you your commitment. And then you do a tracking back to where you are today, and then you start to build your bold idea. But you need to get out there because you're so limited in your mindset if you just go a couple of years ahead.
Dream big and get out there. One last point on this, and we'll. Any other question? But go over and we'll take it on.
I would look at how invested the entrepreneur himself is in the idea. Is the idea coming from his or her life experience or a challenge he or she has faced in their life? And if that's coming from there, then I know there's a market for it. So that's what I would say.
Excellent. Well, this question here. Here we go. Let me give you the mic.
Thank you.
This is like a Jerry Springer show.
Exactly. What is the role of entrepreneurship at Davos? And
Oh,
do you see that should change?
Oh yeah, the role of entrepreneurship in Davos. Here we go. Touchy topic. Touchy topic. 1 second, Tony. Go ahead.
I think we see many entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But they don't usually have the usual appearance. Someone could be an entrepreneur but working in a big corporation.
Yeah.
I think, you know, talking about DP World is a big corporation. So it's a mindset, coming back to this. You can be entrepreneurial in a big corporation, and you can be starting off small.
Yeah.
So I think I'm hearing a lot. For example, yesterday we had a group of university presidents, that's why I'm here, meeting here, about 30. You know, the Stanford and so on, Harvard and so on. And this is a big thing at the universities. Did they realize there's disruption coming in? I think today they feel a little bit more secure about their jobs are secure, but they know there's a responsibility, there's a wave coming. So I think that's my answer.
Entrepreneurship.
Or youth entrepreneurship.
But
Yeah.
I want to say that one thing about Davos and entrepreneurs. I think for you have been here, people have been here for many years, is that you will see many more entrepreneurs coming here. The whole thing about on Davos, if you look at the promenade, if you look about around, and it is needed because the public-private partnerships is what will build the future. And it is a mix about entrepreneurs because you cannot just have the entrepreneurs on one side, the corporate on the other side, the government on the third side. It needs to be a collaboration between them. And the fact that Davos has such a big voice in the world, we all know everything that is being launched in Davos is going to build the future for 2019 going forward. We all know that. You cannot just have government and corporations here. You need to have the startups here. And that's why I now brought in the citizen voice yesterday. You also need to have the citizen here because who are we building the future for? We're not just we're building it for the citizen, right? So there's a whole public-private partnership, and I think that is what we will see a change in Davos going forward. Just like if you look at the global goals, last year the global goals was here a little bit. If you go to Unga Week, it's all about the global goals in New York. Now the global goals is everywhere, and it should be, right?
Absolutely.
So, and this is where the entrepreneurs come in with that mindset. So I would see that Davos going forward is going to change. It's going to be much more about public-private partnerships, including the citizen.
Excellent. Guys, that's all the time we have today. Thank you very much. Thank you for our panel. Enjoy the rest of your time in Davos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
I'm very excited. I love the time concept. I really love it.
Thank you so
Can I
much.
get a picture of all y'all standing?
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
do
a
it.
good idea.
Can I get a photo? Yeah.
Your tempting made me reflect. Such a good.
All right. In the middle. Actually, this big furry camera.
Okay, one more down.
Okay, where are we looking?
Yeah.
This camera here.